All right. Just wanted to go through a couple things with you guys, especially if you are using Desmos. I just met with a student and it just dawned on me that it might be helpful. If you haven't found it online, it's a very simple Google search, but if you haven't thought of that, to send you a quick video of how to type things in on Desmos. And so the first thing is, um, how do I type something like the last problem in your mock test? Because you could graph it. You could also graph the parent function and then shift it using the or using the transformations from the parent function. So just as a review, that would be taking the parent function square root of x, and then that would be shifting that whole graph left 3 values, um, down 2 values, and then multiplying them all by 1/4, because this is a vertical shrink of 1/4. However, I do acknowledge that that's slightly more complicated than just up 3, down 4, or left 2, right 7, because of that vertical compression with a fraction. And so I wanted to show you how to do this on Desmos, just so that you will be familiar with it and you can use it on your test if you want. This doesn't just go for this type of question. Anytime you're dealing with something, especially with fractions that are within a function, this is a great tool to know how to use. And so that's the function. Let me add the f of x, or the y equals, in front of it. That's the function from your last problem in your mock test. And so let's just talk through how we would type that in on Desmos. And so first of all, I'm going to type f of x, or y equals, whatever you prefer, or literally whatever is already typed for you in the question. Then I recognized immediately that there is a fraction here, and it's kind of a complicated fraction, or a rational function, if you will. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that everything in the numerator stays in the numerator. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to put it all in parentheses. So everything in my numerator is going to go inside parentheses. And so that's my first step, parentheses, and then whatever my numerator is. So the square root of x plus 3, that is because this problem has x plus 3 under the radical, or under the square root. If your problem was the square root of x plus 3, then you would have to make sure that you use your cursor to move all the way to the right and then do the plus 3. Notice the difference there. One of those is just the square root of x. The other one is the square root of x plus 3. For this problem particularly, we want the square root of x plus 3. And so I've got to make sure when I type this that x plus 3 stays under that square root. Then I'm going to hit my right arrow to get me out from under the square root and close my parentheses. That is just the numerator. I want to make sure that the denominator stays completely in the denominator. So I'm going to do my division symbol. You could also just type the division symbol down here. And then I'm going to put everything in the denominator in parentheses. In this case, it's very simple. It's just a 4. Close it. Okay. And now the last thing, I've got to make sure that I take care of that -2, but it's not in the numerator or the denominator. So I've got to make sure that it is separate, that it's basically kind of tagged on the end. And so I'm going to hit my right arrow a couple times to make sure that it is out from that fraction. And then I'm going to type -2. And there is my function graphed. Okay. And so a couple other things with Desmos, you can press this positive sign over here and it's going to zoom in. Some other things, you can click over here and you can find the exact point. So I know that that first point, or that root point, is -3 comma -2. Okay. I can trace and find a ton of other points. So like on your on that last problem on your mock test, which is also going to be just like one of your last problems on your actual test, it asks for 3 coordinate points. Graph it on Desmos or your graphing calculator and go find 3 points. There's one point at -3, -2. There's another point there at 0, -1.567. There's a point right here at -3 comma -1.388. So if you're struggling with those parent functions, remember you can always come back to Desmos and you can find some coordinate points there. Okay, so I'm gonna stop that video there. I will post a second one specific to some other things that you can use in Desmos. But for now, this is just basic how you type using fractions or type rational functions using Desmos.